Hello, my name is Bukola. These are my team members, and we'll be talking about how Uber has benefited from globalization. My team consists of Kinsley, Chandana, Grace, and me, myself, Bukola. Our outline goes like background of Uber, how Uber engaged in globalization, how internalization has benefited the growth of Uber, the the challenges, both the existing and the past challenges Uber has encountered in different markets, risk mitigation strategy adopted in the face of their challenges, and conclusion. A little big background of Uber. Uber was founded in March 2009 by Gerrit Kamp and Clive Carlick. The Uber had its headquarters in San Francisco, California, in the US. It's it started its internalization in Paris in 2013. It has so many. It has so many services such as ride sharing, food delivery, and carriage system. It delivers these services through a technology based platform, which is websites or and mobile app. It has really expanded during the years over 10,500 cities, 70,000 countries, including the American, the Europe, the Middle East, African, and Asian markets. With those few points, I could really say Uber has really invested in globalization.
This is Chandana. In this slide, let us see how Uber engages in globalization. Uber is a company which was first introduced in US. Then later it started to expand by internalization. So it started to globalize. So Uber used to globalize integration approach strategy where it provides standardized service across different countries and markets. It uses the same app across all countries. So when Uber started to expand its business, Uber had a concept of using the same application throughout the globe. So you can use the same services with the same UI throughout the globe. Even you can use the same Uber app in India, and you when you come to UK, you use the same Uber application. So this was the strategy, which gained a lot of customers to it, which is an easy platform where every people will know how to use Uber without thinking or without having a second thought. They will always opt Uber when they travel through other countries. And Uber also provides diversification by creating new services to cater to its different market segments to different countries, such as Uber Eats, UberX, Uberpool, and Uberback. So when Uber is an organization, it is a single organization, but it provides very different services to prove itself different in the market. So let's say Uber introduced a new service called Uber Eats. Uber Eats is a service where Uber delivers. Not only Uber was famous in taxi or sharing cabs thing, but it was also famous in Uber Eats. Uber Eats is something that Uber delivers food from one place to another place, and then later it was introduced Uber X. Uber X is a cab where four individuals excluding driver can travel. Then later Uber Pool was introduced. Uber Pool is something like cab pooling. You can you many people, two or more people can pitch into the same cab and pitch the money and then travel. And then came the Uber Black. Uber Black is a luxurious service provided by Uber where people who feel like or who wish to travel luxuriously can opt for Uber Black. Then, it also uses a global brand advantage to participate in aggressive market penetration across different countries. Let's move on to next slide. Now, let's see how internalization has benefited Uber's growth. So, how has Uber internalization benefited Uber's growth, or how it has benefited Uber's brand value? So Uber got a very good customer base. It has got a very loyal customers throughout the globe because the same application has been used everywhere, which is notified or which has been noticed by every customer, and it has achieved a wide market share globally. It has the Uber was started quite long back, so it has faced many challenges, and by today, which is in present 2024, it has a wide market share. It has increased sales and revenues that have promoted its growth. It has also cut down on operational costs as a result of economic scale, and it has attracted funding from a large firm to catalyze its growth. Many big companies funded in Uber to catalyze the growth of Uber. It has partnership with companies, which big companies such as cruise company, to provide different services. For example, let's say by next year we are going to see a automatic Uber cab. So whenever you're gonna book an Uber from next year, you're gonna have a different services, which is automatic Uber cab service. So Uber is trying to do all of this to be different when compared to other similar services, to be different from its competitors. So in this way, Uber is trying to increase its brand value and earn profits and increase the growth of Uber globally.
Yeah, I'm Kingsley Omoreji by name. I'm to speak on how Uber engages in chains and networks. Uber has cut down a capital expense and operational costs of maintaining a fleet of vehicles by using the asset-light business model, which means it does not own the vehicle it uses for providing services, which means in this angle, Uber only provides a platform of creating a website and an app for Uber riders. This has to turn lead to increase productivity and financial growth. Uber take advantage of low labor cost provided by the drivers who are not fully time employees. Hence, they are able to cut down on costs that would have been incurred when paying health insurance and holidays and also sick leave pays for Uber riders.
My name is Grace, and I'll be talking about the challenges, both past and existing, that Uber has encountered in different markets. One of the big challenges that Uber faced in 2019 was the COVID-19 health challenge. This is a challenge that resulted in Uber making losses and having a significant revenue decrease. This is because most people were confined in their homes and are not able to travel and book rides. Another big challenge that Uber has continuously faced is the regulatory local and laws that in different countries or cities. One of the examples is the Transport for London Regulatory Act, which revoked Uber's license at some point, citing that there was a lot of safety concerns and a lack of serious background checks for Uber drivers. Another big challenge that Uber has continuously faced are very high competition from local rivals in different countries. One of the cases is in China, where Uber faced very high competition from a company called Dichuxing, and this resulted in Uber having to close its operations completely because of very high competition. We have insecurity, which is a big challenge for Uber in terms of their drivers being attacked. In Brussels, for example, Uber drivers were once attacked by being thrown eggs and flour. And so this poses as a serious challenge to Uber. Another big challenge is protest from rival companies, such as the taxi industry. So, in a case like France, taxi industry drivers have protested over time, claiming that while they are forced to pay very high amounts of money to get licenses, Uber drivers there do not really pay anything for licensing. So they view it as Uber gaining from a very unfair advantage. Another example is in London, whereby the London black cab drivers claim that while they are forced to do very rigorous knowledge tests and have to pass the test before they are able to work, Uber drivers do not need to do this test. They only rely on GPS tracking, and so they look at it as a very unfair thing for them, and so they have constantly protested against Uber. Another big challenge that Uber has also faced is numerous lawsuits that have been put against them. This is mostly with the driver situation, whereby drivers claim that Uber takes advantage of them in terms of claiming getting cheap labor for them and not being able to pay them benefits. So Uber classifies their drivers as contracted instead of being full-time employees. So it escapes the responsibility of having to pay insurance in case of accidents, health insurance, um, sick leave, holiday leave, and pension. So this is one of the reasons that Uber keeps being struck by lawsuits. Another big challenge is high turnover rates of drivers. Most Uber drivers do not take Uber as a full-time job. Most of them would take it as a second job to just earn extra income. And because of this, when there's low peak season or when there's not enough money they're making, most of them would quit Uber and just try to do other things or stay at home. So this poses as a big challenge because it reduces the availability of drivers for Uber. So because of these challenges, Uber has gone ahead to get risk mitigation strategies that will enable them to adopt in the face of these challenges. One of the risk mitigation strategies that they are employing is engaging with policymakers regarding new regulations, new local regulations, in order to comply with the local regulations. So one of the examples in Transport for London Act, whereby when Uber faced revoking of their licenses, they went ahead and tried to comply with the local regulations. And they did this by ensuring that those who are now conducting serious background checks on their drivers. So are checking their drive histories, they're checking if they were into drugs, or checking if the drivers were of good reputation before they employed them to work for Uber. Another risk mitigation strategy that Uber is employing is aggressive marketing, and they do this by creating loyalty programs and discounts on first-time riders that are downloading the app, the Uber app. Another way Uber has done risk mitigation is through creation of a robust security technology. And how they do this is by employing GPS tracking, whereby they're able to track rides. Riders are able to share their ride with people that they trust. And in case of any issues, they're able to report it to Uber, who then follow up and ensure that any issues are sorted. Another risk mitigation strategy that Uber has employed is focusing on the motivation and well-being of drivers. This they're able to do by giving out incentives to their drivers, such as paying higher rates during peak seasons. So during peak seasons, drivers are able to make more money, and this encourages drivers to, keep working for Uber. Another thing they do is a continuous investment in the development and maintenance of its application. And by doing this, they are able to increase the customer experience and make it easy for the customers to use their app. Hence, they are able to retain most of their customers and attract other riders from different rival companies. So, looking at this diagram, this is a very good diagram to show how globalization has increased Uber's revenue. We can see that through globalization, there has been increased global net revenue for Uber since 2013. It has consistently risen over the years from $0.1 billion US in 2019. We can see that the graph has continuously increased over the years till 2023, whereby the current global net revenue as of 2023 is $37.28 billion US dollars from $0.1 billion US dollars to $37.28 billion. You can see that this is a very significant revenue growth, which we can say globalization has contributed to that big growth. Another significant thing to note on this graph is that Uber faced a decline in their revenue from 2019 to 2020, and this is because of the COVID-19 challenge. This is because people were not ordering rides at all, and so there was a significant reduction in revenue. But after that, they were able to keep progressing and increasing their revenue share.
I also want to speak on the conclusion of this research. The research have attempted to capture the advantage of globalization on Uber's business growth. The findings reveal that Uber follows a global integration strategy and has minimized the benefit of globalization to become a well-known multinational company. Some of these major benefits of globalization on Uber includes increased customer base, wide market share, and increased sale and revenue. And over time, the findings reveal that there is so many litigation and regulatory issues are biggest challenge for Uber growth, which call for risks mitigation strategy, such as close and adaptation of business model to respective local regulatory and continue investing on developing and maintaining of its app technology to mitigate potential business risks. Finally, Uber needs to be biggest and faster in technological innovation than the other player to mitigate these risks as market conditions change. Because if you watch in US, Uber has so many litigations, and in UK, Uber has litigation. In Canada, Uber also has litigation. So it has been a contentious issue on Uber business because how Uber handles his riders is very low because he doesn't seems to show concern on aspect of increasing their welfare because he only provide the application for them, like the app and the website for them to just. So if the business, if there is a high price of like a fuel or gas, so he doesn't know to see, or he doesn't see to see how the riders at least benefit from their business. So it's very contentious issue in this aspect. So thank you.